It's that time that every truck owner dreams of. It's time to order some super singles. The question is, what should we get? And that's both what tires should we get, like what tread, what brand, what's going to work best for us, but also what size should we get? Should we be getting 37s on a 17-inch rim, or should we be going with 35s on the 19.5-inch rim? Obviously, I want the 37s. They're massive. They look sick. I'll be able to flex on all the Land Cruiser owners. The problem is, looking around on all the truck pages, it seems like there's a lot of sidewall failures and tyre bubbles, all with the 37-inch tyre. I notice a lot of people are selling theirs and dropping down to the 35s instead. That's got me worried, so I want to talk to someone that knows what's going on. There's only 2 suppliers of super singles in Australia, All-Terrain Warriors and Australian Adventure Vehicles. I don't have any brand loyalty to either of these companies. I just reached out to AAV first, and Kym got back to me straight away and said he was super keen to do a recorded interview. So this is that interview, recorded at the Adelaide 4x4 and camping show. Enjoy. We're really up to the stage where we're trying to look for tyres for the truck, and I don't know anything about tyres. I know things about fixing trucks, that's about it.
Yep.
But I'm online and I'm seeing things about tyres falling apart and the bubbles on the sidewalls and all that kind of thing. So.
Well, I can tell you categorically, the bubbles on the side, and it's this part of the sidewall, is categorically due to overloading and or underinflation.
Okay.
It happens to every brand of tyre, so it can't be just one particular tyre production that is at fault. Hankook, which these are, Gladiators, Patriot, Radar, and particularly Back Bear, all suffer from the same situation.
Okay.
So it cannot be a manufacturer's fault from that point of view. Whenever we've had those situations and taken it back to the manufacturer, they categorically tell us it's overloading and or underinflation. So you've got to understand the tyres and what they're being used for. They're a flotation tyre to start with, so they're designed to do off-road sand driving down to 20 psi. And I understand
that's different as opposed to like truck tyres, which are meant to be heavier duty, higher.
Correct, yeah. So you've got 2 types of rims. If you go back one step, with 2 types of rims, you've got a 17 by 9-inch rim, which I designed and introduced to the market nearly 10 years ago, and you've got a 19.5-inch truck rim, which others offer in the marketplace, which offer a 14-ply truck tyre.
That's like the 35-inch tyre.
It's a 35-inch tyre on a 19.5-inch rim. So let's look at it this way. This is a 37-inch tyre on a 17-inch rim. You've got lots of tyre, lots of sidewall, good flotation. A 19.5-inch rim on a 35-inch tyre, you can see the difference, right? It's like riding a concrete truck, bottom line. And yes, if you want high load, you're carrying 7.5 tonne and some, and towing as well, where the caravan is yawing as well too, and going through dips where the tow bar is pressurising like so, you're going to put massive strain on that tyre. If you want to get around that, by all means go for 19.5s, but with something like a good ride tyre on it, because there are other things to take into account. Is not only the load rating of the rim, the tyre, the speed rating, you've also got to take in the pressure altogether. So, let's look at this tyre here. It's a Hankook tyre. This is the lowest load rating tyre that we offer. It's somewhere here, a 129Q, 1850 kilo load carrying capacity. Q means it's 160 k an hour.
This is per tyre?
Per tyre. The rim, our rims are 2,180 load rated. We used to sell a 1950 load rated rim, but now they're all 2,180 kilos, so they match a 135 tyre. In between the two, the Gladiators, Gladiator AT or MT, are a 135Q, so that's 2,180 kilo per tyre, with a Q load rating, so 160 k an hour load rating. You go one step further to the new Federal tyre, which is a 137. So now we're looking at 2,300 kilo at 160 k an hour.
All right, so that's a lot higher
rated tyre. Rated tyre.
This is what you would recommend for someone with like a 7.5 tonne GVM on a truck?
I don't put none of these tyres that I offer in a 7-inch rim have compliance for a 7.5 tonne. We reduced the GVM of the vehicle to 7 tonne, so they are legally compliant. So this actually will exceed a 7.5 tonne if it had compliance. But but, and there's always a but to it, I've got a rim that's 2,180 kilo and this tyre is 2,300 kilo. The tyre is compliant, the rim is not. So there's no point having a high rated tyre with a 1950 kilo rim. It's pointless because legally the highest you can go is that 1950 because that's the lowest common denominator of all of them.
Okay, and that's because super singles, one single rim can only take so much load.
So much load. That's right. It's the rim plus the tyre. So obviously they have to be comparable. You certainly can have a tyre higher than the rim, but the lowest common denominator of those two determines the GVM or the maximum GVM of your vehicle. So at this stage, all ours are 7 tonne maximum, no matter what truck it is, or maximum 7 tonne or 6.5 for the Fuso, 7 tonne for the Isuzu, and slightly lower because of the axle rating on the Hino. But it's still going to be that particular figure because of the combination of the two.
Right, that's good.
Now, not only do you have a 129Q in this case, but you also have a factory pressure of 60 psi. You go up the next ones, the Gladiator AT and MT, 80 psi and 80 psi. Now I know what's happening in the marketplace. 80 psi is a really hard tyre.
It seems like a lot, especially coming up
it's a lot of pressure.
drive.
It's a lot of pressure, right? So the lady in the passenger seat saying, "Oh my God, I hate this truck. It drives like crap." Excuse me, but that's the bottom line, right? So let the tyres out. Runs beautifully.
But that tyre isn't load rated for that pressure?
Not for that pressure, no.
Okay.
So then they still got their caravan behind, they're still doing 110k an hour down the Gibb River Road and turn around and say, the tyre's stupid. It's the tyre's fault. It's the operator's fault.
Okay.
We've done 360,000 Ks in Fuso Candas around the world with 124 Qs on.
Even lower.
Even like 1,650 kilo load rated. Never ever have we had bubbles on the sidewall, and we're running 5.5 to 6 tonne.
That's good to know.
It all depends how you operate the vehicle, what speed you're doing. If you're going to let tyre pressures down, and yes, I knock 10 psi out on corrugated roads, but I'm also only travelling at 80k an hour. If I'm on the beach, if I go down the beach down at 20 psi, I'm probably maximum 45 kilometres an hour. Okay. So as you let your tyre pressures down, you should also slow down.
Okay, I didn't understand that at all.
Yeah, there's definitely a correlation between rim, tyre, load pressure of the tyre PSI that you're doing, and your speed. All those are a combination factor. You step outside those parameters, you're going to have trouble knowing what sort of tyre it is.
Okay, that sounds good. That relieves a lot of anxiety.
Right.
Because I want to run big tyres because they look sick and I always want to have 30
Well,
seconds.
they're great off-road.
Yeah, great off-road. I think we're going for more of like more off-road specs truck.
Yeah.
And we're not towing anything. We're going to pretty well do what you've got here.
Yeah.
Build it all onto the back of it and be able to go as many places as possible.
Yeah.
So for us, like, what's your decision tree look like when you're trying to figure out what tyre to offer?
Well, we ask the client, okay, what's your game plan? If you're going to do 90% bitumen road, which most do, you want to do Fraser Island, you want to do the desert tracks, then you would pick something like an AT. You don't need an aggressive footprint. I mean, the other end of the scale is a very aggressive MT, like the Gladiator MT. It's a brilliant tyre, but you put your foot down, you would just dig yourself holes in the ground.
So this is something I didn't realise either. I had a Suzuki Jimny and I ran KM2s, the whatever brand they are, but they were aggressive mud tyre because they looked sick and I loved the look of it. And as soon as we hit the beach, which I was mostly doing beach driving then. Completely useless.
The ATs, the Gladiator ATs, which are a 135Q, so 2,180 kilo at 160k an hour, a great road tyre because the tread is fairly tight. So it's a good wet weather road tyre as well. So there's a safety margin in that.
That's these ones here?
No, these are more aggressive again. So it's less aggressive than what this is. The other thing is because it's a tight tread, it's great sand tyre. I mean, if you go back eons, they used to run DC3 flotation tyres off aircrafts because they were a smooth, round tyre. That's an ideal maximum footprint, no aggression whatsoever on it. So that's where we start with and say, okay, what's your type of driving you're doing?
So if you want heavy road and
beach driving and desert crossing, then an AT. As you move up from there and you want more of an all-purpose tyre, then you go slightly more aggressive, okay? The Hankook Dyno Pro, depending on the load rating or the curb weight of your vehicle, then you'd go the Gladiator, well then you'd go to the Federal, which is more aggressive again, then you'd go more aggressive again with the Gladiator MTs, which are a real macho looking tyre. I mean, I call it a look at me tyre, right? But it's a brilliant tyre, but it's fit for the application as well too. I mean, Northern Territory's got a lot of mud and slurry country. So we sell lots of wetlands, so we sell a lot to the NTs for that reason. So the question is, what's your application? Then we can say, this is the tyre we recommend for you for that.
All right. I think obviously a lot of tarmac driving because that just comes with the territory. I've noticed we do a lot of sand driving. We're in Western Australia at the moment, so that's
great.
All sand driving. But I love going to forests. I used to live in Melbourne. And I love going up into the high country and the forestry, and especially in winter when I guess you can't.
Well, you've got snow, you see, so that
snow as well.
Snow you need a more aggressive tyre to be able to throw the product out, snow out of the way. So you can't have a tyre that fits all. You can't have it all. I mean, in Europe you have a winter tyre and a summer tyre, right? So you've got to pick the happy medium. I mean, the Gladiator AT, which as I said was probably started to be the recommendation, it's fine. It's going to do gravel roads and so forth, but you can't expect to hit the slurry and the mud somewhere and expect it to operate the same as what a more aggressive tyre is. So what everyone chooses is a compromise somewhere.
All right, well, I guess I want to compromise away from having such an aggressive mud tyre and go more towards the sand tyre this time.
Well, in that case, Gladiator AT. Correct load rating. What sort of vehicle do you have?
We got a Isuzu NPS,
but
it's a 2008 model, so it has a GVM of 6 tonne, and mine's been up to 6.5 tonne. Right,
so you'll be so far with safety margins on there, absolutely no issues whatsoever.
So that's the in-between these two tyres?
In between these two. In between as far as load rating is concerned, but further down the scale as far as aggressiveness, if there's such a word. So an AT, it's like an all-terrain tyre.
That's perfect, that's what we want. And you would suggest 37s over the 35s for our...
I would, yes. It's a softer ride, more flex. Certainly you can let a bigger footprint when you do let that sand, for the sand driving, let that down. Definitely a big advantage. So comfort and a bigger footprint when you are sand driving, definitely.
And how do we go with using such a larger tyre than initially spec'd for the truck and speed of the truck itself? So
the speed will increase.
That's right. So
it'll be 14% more because your rolling diameter from a 32-inch tyre to a 37 is a 14% increase in rolling diameter.
That's quite big.
So your speedometer and odometer will be out, but that same configuration. So as part of our compliance package, we would adjust that speedometer to take up that differential between, be it 35 or 37-inch tyre.
So your package is if we roll our truck into your workshop?
Yes. One roll into our workshop and we get our engineer on that day to basically engineer the truck so it's approved Australia-wide. Or if we were sending a package to you, then we have a list of engineers Australia-wide who you would then fit the or change the speedometer, either with a dealer or yourself, depending on the age of the truck, fit the flares on, make it road legal, then present it to the engineer and he would then sign it off, knowing that he has all our compliance information on file. Again, it's road legal then.
Compliance information comes from the speed, whatever you do to change the speed reduction in the
It's not just that, it's the testing we have done and the brake testing we have done. Because the trucks are engineered for a 32-inch wheel. We're putting a 37-inch wheel. That changes the braking capacity of the vehicle. So to do that, we've got 2 days where we basically hire a racetrack with our engineer and test it at 45, 80, 100 kilometres an hour. All the sensors on the braking thing. You can't put too much pedal on the brake. You've got a distance you've got to comply with. It's quite a serious and expensive process. They also go through all the brake failures. So they turn off the ABS if it does have. They not cut the lines, but they clamp the lines on each corner of the truck. So all the failures that can possibly happen to a brake system, they still have to pull up within a designated distance and with the right pressure on the foot pedal that makes it legally compliant.
Okay, so...
And that's the data information that our engineer holds and we hold, that we give to our engineer, in your case in Perth. So the engineer there, you go and see, you go, yep, that's an NPS, that's this year model, here's the compliance information, tick, you've done this, this, this and this, they're all good, okay.
Sweet. Sold.
Okay, just as we go on with the 19.5s, now I know a lot of 19.5s are out there, we have them in stock as well too. We don't yet have compliance.
Okay.
We will have by the end of the year, but we don't have...
Going through this engineering
going
process.
through that engineering process, right. So that's it in a nutshell as far as tyres. So the right tyre pressure at the right speed with the right loading and the correct loading of your vehicle. So have your tyres, ideally your load rating, front and rear axle, ideally 50-50 is perfect. If you've got a maximum load behind the rear axle, it's not right. There's more on the rear tyre, there's more behind the rear tyre, which is even worse still. So one has to build a vehicle appropriately. And there's a lot of people doing DIY builds. Again, we have to keep that, try and get that 50-50 load mix correct.
Okay, so with your compliance pack that comes with it, you're talking flares and the adjustment of the speedometer?
That is correct, yes, and wheel nuts for the rear. You need new wheel nuts for the rear.
Oh, yeah, because it goes from these ones.
It goes, that's right, yeah. So we have wheel nuts that will lock straight on.
Okay.
A lot of people don't realise, and we get some silly questions saying, oh, my wheel doesn't fit on the truck. When you're mounting, it to the truck, it's faceplate in on the rear and faceplate out on the front.
Right.
That way
keeps your track.
The track is exactly the same line. All these vehicles, the wheels that we've designed, the Fuso, Isuzu, Hino, and Oka and Iveco, all have different offsets, but they're all designed to be within 2 or 3 mil front to rear. You step outside that line, you're not tracking in the same line, you're pushing another lot of sand unnecessarily.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's why duals are useless in the sand, and of course you get a rock in between too. You've got 6 tracks in a dual wheel drive truck you're pushing, 1 for the front wheel and 2 for the back wheel. So you 6 new loads, whereas with super singles you're pushing 2 lines of track through the sand, the mud or the snow.
All right, sweet. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered, we've probably confused a lot of people, but go through the facts point by point. And one will not have problems with bubbling if you don't overload and you don't underinflate for that appropriate load and keep your speed down.
All right.
Bottom line.
That's so good.
Yeah, and look, I've got people going around Australia who have got 7-ton Isuzus, towing a 3.5-ton caravan, doing it correctly, 0 issues with tyres. 40, 50,000 Ks out of set of tyres and no issues. So it can be done. It's those others who don't respect the tyre and the conditions they're driving under.
Or someone who just doesn't know. Like I could have easily just put these on there and not even thought about reducing my speed when we air down.
Yeah, exactly correct, and not have your truck loaded appropriately.
In our design at the moment, I'm trying to keep everything towards the front of it, nothing over.
Well, that way you've got a motor at the front and you've got your load at the rear. So as said, 50-50 between the 2 wheels is ideal. This truck here, all our motorhomes are all 50-50.
Awesome.
Okay, good chatting.
Thanks
Thank you for your time. Okay,
Sweet.
Good on you.
So after the interview, Kym and I emailed back and forth a couple of times, and he wanted to add that, to his knowledge, all the tyre failures were happening on vehicles that were towing and only on their rear axles. None that he knew of happened from trucks not towing, so that relieved a lot of anxiety. He also emailed to me Excel spreadsheet calculator for calculating what pressures to run your tyre at in different situations. In the spreadsheet, you put in the max load rating for the tyre you have, the max pressure rating for that tyre, and your weighed load on your axle, and then it'll spit out the pressures you should be running in a bunch of different situations. I'm sure if you reach out to AAV, they'll send you a copy of the calculator, or if you find me on Facebook, I can send you a copy as well. I just wanted to thank Kym for taking the time to be interviewed by me and letting me post it on the internet. That was super cool, and can't wait to get the tyres. It's going to be so sick. Can't wait to start staunching. If you like this kind of content, if you like the interviews, that kind of thing, by all means, let me know. Hit that subscribe button. I can definitely make more of this stuff in the future. Thanks for watching.